with video 2 for the news for today. It's me and it's Mitch. And if you didn't see the earlier video, then Mitch, you're going to have to explain yourself again. Who are you, mate?
I'm very sorry once again. I'm Mitch. I'm from Cultaholic.com. I'm the editor-in-chief of our content over on the website. You are.
But yeah, we've had a bit of a situation in which, you know, we kind of double booked. So Mitch is making his on-camera debuts today as an absolute legend who's saving our bacon and jumping in on news videos with me. So without any further ado, I guess let's crack on and take a look at the headlines. Could John Cena be returning to WWE TV before Money in the Bank? WWE have announced a 25-date live tour. And Rob Van Dam goes to bat for WWE regarding independent contractor status. Now, John Cena, he posted something a little while back on his Instagram, didn't he? Just a big old WWE logo, and that got the rumor mill going. So, according to F4W, you know, there was a lot of stuff building up after that, and yeah, we were reporting on it, everybody was reporting, and it's like, oh, Cena's coming back, and then there was, you know, the show that Cena's going to be helming for WWE in line with, I think it's Fox. There's just all sorts of things, but apparently, according to F4W, Cena's return is being discussed for the first show back in front of a live crowd, which would make it the July 16th SmackDown in Houston, Texas. Now, Cena returning is probably an absolute no-brainer, really, if you can get him. I mean, he's huge now. He's a huge star across several mediums. He's not just John Cena, the wrestler. And it'll be a massive moment, you know, having fans back. He's been very vocal about wanting fans back and that experience. But I think, you know, could they hold off till the Money in the Bank pay-per-view? But I don't even know. What do you think of it?
I'm very excited to see John Cena back. And I don't think you'd have heard me say that a few years ago. But
same. Absolutely.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with him, because I'm not sure if you saw it, Sam. He did an interview with Den of Geek about a week ago, about 10 days ago. Right. And he was quite adamant that his return, for him, it was very important that it didn't forget what happened at WrestleMania 36, i.e. the Firefly Funhouse. So, at least according to John Cena himself, it seems quite important to him that his return is kept within that narrative and within that storyline.
See, I was really banking on that happening at Mania. You know, I was expecting to end up in a similar situation and we'd end up back inside that, you know, alternate dimension and Cena would still be there trapped. And I was a bit gutted we didn't get that, but I'm hoping, you know, maybe we can do that. But let's actually just be honest with ourselves. If there's crowd there, the show's just going to kick off with like Cena, The Rock, Austin, Hogan. It's just going to be all the biggest stars they possibly can, and they're just going to go, ugh.
What I would absolutely love is say they do it on that first Friday night SmackDown, the first live crowd back since Mania. You know, everyone's going nuts. The trumpets go, dur, 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 dur. Cena comes out, and it's lovely. But there's just those little hints that maybe something's not quite all right, and it's very subtle. But it's Cena being Cena with just little breaks in the character, and if you might miss it, but just gets us all talking a little bit more.
I guess it just depends. It depends if they're bringing him in for a spot or if they're bringing him in for a little run. And I would love, because I mean, the fact we're going to be returning to, you know, the biggest events that they produce, and given the time frames, we're going to be, you know, heading toward things like SummerSlam with a live crowd. Once vaccinations pick up, we're going to be heading just harder and harder toward, you know, full capacity venues being absolutely packed out again. So I could actually see, you know, shooting schedules permitting it, I could see Cena at least getting a small storyline out of this. Well, not a small one, but you know what I mean? Like a small length, simple storyline that's stretched out for a good amount of time.
Who do you want to see him work with, Sam?
I don't even know. I think you've kind of just spoiled it for me there. I just want it to be I want it to be Bray now. I want it to all like just go and come back together. But I guess we're going to find out. Something I forgot to mention in the last video now, as a title rematch has been set for Raw. Now, following the events of this week's Raw, I don't know if you saw it, Alexa Bliss caused an explosion that distracted Baszler and Jax, and it allowed, you know, Natty and Tamina to pick up the win, and it's a bit unfair, a little bit unfair, of course. But another title match has been set for the coming episode. What do we know about it, Midge?
We know that Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler will be getting another opportunity to reclaim their WWE Women's Tag Team titles. Jax and Baszler obviously feel like they kind of got the wrong end of Alexa Bliss on last week's show, but they've been on a bit of rocky ground themselves since losing the titles.
Well, this is it. I kind of was hoping that this was going to just lead to a big explosion. Maybe that's where we're heading. Maybe they're claiming to be mistreated and stuff because of it, and like there's just quite a lot. But I don't know. We've still got the Reggie element in the situation. We've got Shayna just languishing in a tag. I
can't be the only person that just wants to see Shayna go absolutely nuts.
I want to see Shayna small joint manipulate every single person on that roster, just breaking all their fingers and toes, and just being Shayna Baszler. That's what I want to see, and just going on an absolute tear. So. It makes sense in terms of a fair rematch, as we both said, but I think it's only a matter of time before the mega powers once again explode. Now, we were guilty of this yesterday, but there is a lot of speculation surrounding the future, the wrestly future of one certain Mr. Moose. And he took to Twitter yesterday to keep the rumor mill burning, because yesterday it was kind of suggested that maybe he's re-signed with Impact because maybe he could be working, down the line a little bit further. But, there's been talk that his contract was set to expire. What did he take to Twitter to say, Mitch?
Well, I quite like this. It's very naughty, a very cheeky boy tweet from Moose. He wrote out, "I love when you all argue about what my next move is, but next had NXT capitalized. Oh, you cheeky boy, Moose."
Oh, Moose. Oh, you do Moose. So spoil us, Mr. Moose.
In all seriousness, he did also tweet. There was a tweet that was talking about his re-signing with Impact, the rumor, and he very brazenly, very straightforward, just put "not true."
I mean, he's been talked about for many a year, like him and WWE, and the idea that, he's going to eventually end up there at some point. I mean, back when we were running wrestling shows in another, life, Moose was in and around it, and every single time it was like, it's only a matter of time until eventually we imagine, he's going to end up going off. So, there's a lot of people that want to see this, but I don't know. I think there's some really good matches for him in WWE, but I think there'd be good matches for him anywhere he went at this stage.
I've really enjoyed Moose, particularly over the sort of the pandemic era in the last year when he was carrying around the old TNA World Heavyweight title. I think he's been really good, and he's had some really, really good matches on Impact. If it's his time to leave Impact, then I would like to see what he could do in WWE.
I mean, he's done so much with and for Impact, through his tenure there. And if it is the end, as you said, then I would love to see him move on to a chapter where we can see matches that we, at some point, maybe thought weren't ever going to really happen. So it'd be nice, fresh change of scenery. I guess we're going to find out as and when he lands, wherever he lands, if his contract rolls over, if it doesn't, if it's all just been a big swerve. But this is a wrestler, near contract negotiation time. It seems so. Just fistfuls of salt, not pinches. Just, you know what they're like. They're naughty, all that. Now, a bit of news I think we've all been waiting to hear. This broke yesterday afternoon, but WWE are returning to live events after loads of speculation that Fox were, pushing them to kind of, we need to start filling the place back up. We need to get the, the wheels moving on it and everything. They put out a tweet which linked to a WWE.com post that confirms the company are returning to live event touring with a 25-city schedule running all the way through Labor Day in the US. The tour kicks off in July in Texas, and the first 3 dates are the only ones to have been revealed so far. And what are those dates, Mitch?
Well, as we were talking about a little bit earlier with the John Cena news, we're going to kick things off with Friday Night SmackDown on Friday, July 16th at the Toyota Center in Houston. We then roll over to Money in the Bank, which is going to be at the Dickies Arena in Fort Worth on Sunday, July 18th. And then heading into Monday Night Raw on the 19th of July at the American Airlines Center in Dallas. Tickets for these shows are going on sale next Wednesday, the 26th of May, and the company will then be revealing more dates in the coming weeks. There's been no confirmation of max capacities. Obviously, social distancing is still very much a thing. I imagine the assumption here is going to be state by state, depending on where those events are taking place. But how exciting!
Well, this is here. It's like, so long as it's done safely, this is huge. Like, this is what we've all been waiting for. But at the same time, I don't know why, but I'm gonna kind of miss the Thunderdome. It just feels like it was a nice thing. Like, they somehow got it just right with that. And, it would have been a lot nicer to have a combination of people in there with that happening in the Thunderdome and everything. But I don't know. We're never going to see a setup like that again. It's kind of like a one-off thing. Well, one-off, but you know what I mean? Like, it's a once-in-a-lifetime situation, we'd hope.
We're very quick, I think, in wrestling media to criticise where criticism is needed. So I think it's important that we praise WWE for the Thunderdome, because it hasn't been easy for anyone, for any wrestling promotion.
Absolutely.
But they put together a very good venue for their wrestling product in the Thunderdome over the last few months. So kudos there.
Did you get on the Thunderdome at any point?
No, absolutely not. I did apply. Did you?
I've not had a chance to get on it yet. I think I'm gonna have to try now every single week until this is done, because it'd be nice to at least be on it once, just to be like, I did it.
Now that there's a definitive end date, it almost feels like, we absolutely need to make it happen.
My neighbours are gonna hate me though. The walls are paper thin, and I'm just sat in my living room, like 2 a.m. It'll be great.
my housemate already hates me, so that's absolutely fine.
Now, finally, WWE and independent contractor status is something that has been a very hot topic of conversation for quite some time now. Things like talent having to buy their own medical insurance, pay for their own travel, pay for their own hotels, things like that. The fact that the company has got exclusivity over them, even though they're listed as independent contractors. There's a whole situation that, it involves unionization. It involves a lot of different arguments that are all incredibly important in relation to being a WWE superstar and the realities of what that should be in the 21st century. But kind of just bridging off the back of that was just kind of a bit of intro to what we're about to talk about. RVD has defended WWE, and in particular the independent contractor status itself. He took to Twitter to post a video of himself and Vince having a little bit of a reunion of sorts, to which somebody replied, I wonder if you share Vince's feelings about each other. And then it all kind of went off. The floodgates opened, didn't they, Mitch?
Yeah, RVD seemed to let loose. Go on, Rob. He quote tweeted the message you just said about, and he said, I love Vince McMahon. It's John Oliver that's the a-hole. Now, for many people might remember, John Oliver has in the past gone after the world of wrestling, particularly WWE and Vince McMahon, because of independent contractor status, talking about things like healthcare and medicine and making sure people are taking care of themselves. And it's a very passionate, I don't want to call it a rant, but a very passionate case that Oliver put forward at the time. And I think it took in a lot of people and brought in an audience to what he was saying that doesn't particularly know professional wrestling. So it was very interesting to see RVD defend his right to be an independent contractor.
Yeah, so he kind of just carried on replying to people as well. So somebody replied, damn him for wanting wrestlers to have healthcare, to which RVD replied, you mean take away my independent contracting status, which gives me freedom to buy any insurance I need or want? Ever thought about that? He also said about healthcare, we all have it. We buy it because it's better to make more money and take care of yourself than have an employer that pays you less to give you coverage. He accused Oliver of being one-sided and repeatedly went to bat for the independent contractor status and against the company revoking it. And he closed off with, never afraid to have an unpopular opinion. I'd rather go down for what I believe than stand for something I don't. Whether that gains or loses fans has to come second. P.S. The resentment for successful people shines through your words like the sun and says a lot. And I think it's important to note here that everybody is entitled to their own opinion. RVD obviously having been in and around the company, quite a long tenured employee of WWE, he sees it one way. And he might see that as beneficial toward him and other performers from his standpoint as a performer. He seemed to think that we'd all been kind of led on this witch hunt a little bit, I think, in some of his replies, but it's a case-by-case thing, I imagine. Everybody's going to stand somewhere different. We don't do that job, so we can look at it as much as we want from the outside in, but unless we were there doing it, then we'd have a better grasp of it. So I guess the people to ask about this are other wrestlers. But yeah, it's one of those things. RVD sees it one way, a lot of people see it another way, but what are we going to do about it? It's just something that will either naturally evolve and change over time with WWE and the independent contractor status, or it may continue on for a little bit longer than people might have hoped.
Absolutely. I don't think I can add anything to that, Sam. We only really hear the third party stories. We hear the rumours and the reports regarding things like this. And at the end of the day, we don't particularly know. Well, we don't have 100% knowledge of what goes on behind the scenes in these companies. And if it works for RVD as a single case, fantastic. It may not work for others, but
this is it. And it's important to note there are stars who are unhappy at the independent contractor status and who are very vocal about that. And it's one of those things where I think the wrestling world itself is going to be the thing that works this out. Like the talent themselves and the companies themselves are going to be something that will drive the change in this area. But that is it for your second lovely dose of Weekend Bumper, Saturday Bumper, slice of wrestling news with me and Mr. Mitch. Mitch, we're going to just close out again. Like at the end of the last video, asked Mitch to highlight something he wanted to highlight on the site because, he's editor-in-chief of the bloody website. So, he's Mitch. He knows all about the site and he knows all the good stuff that's just hiding away that maybe doesn't get as much love as other people know. Is there anything you'd like to highlight, Mitch?
There are two pieces I'd like to highlight from this week, Sam. The first is Jack's weekly feature. So you all know Jack is a presenter on the channel. He is also a very talented writer, and I don't think he gets enough credit for his writing. He's done a very interesting article on zombies, not just zombies in general, WrestleMania Backlash zombies.
Yeah.
And the whole concept behind why this is, it's a damning indictment of WWE. Lack of continuity, basically. I'm not doing it any justice. Go and read the article because it's absolutely fantastic. And I do also just want to give a shout out to one of our other features writers, a guy called we just call Atkins. You know him very well. Yeah, he's done a brilliant piece on the Casino Battle Royal and next week's AEW Double or Nothing, looking at some of the potential winners. So I don't want to spoil it. Go and give it a read.
Oh, they sound great. But yes, go check out cultaholic.com for all sorts of lovely wrestling news, wrestling features, and even quizzes now.
We do quizzes now?
Yeah, we got quizzes and stuff. Go check it out. But yes, enjoy the rest of your weekend. It's goodbye from me and it's goodbye from Mitch. Do you want to say
goodbye?
Yeah, Mitch did want to say goodbye. That's cool. See you later, everybody.